Shafilea Iftikhar Ahmed was born on 14 July 1986 in Bradford, West Yorkshire, the daughter of Pakistani immigrant parents. She had the nickname Shaf. Shafilea attended Great Sankey High School, at Sixth Form Centre Beryl College, and Priestley College from September 2003. Her parents, who are of the Sunni branch of Islam and native Punjabi speakers, originated from the village of Uttam in the Gujrat District. Iftikhar Ahmed, her father, and Farzana Ahmed, her mother, were cousins from Pakistan who had been forced into an arranged marriage. The family lived in the Great Sankey area of Warrington, Cheshire. Despite choosing to live in the United Kingdom, Iftikhar and Farzana did not approve of the Western lifestyle. And as such, Shafilea and her younger siblings were raised in a harsh, ultra-conservative environment. Over time, Shafilea rejected her parents' influences and grew fond of her local community in Warrington, Cheshire. Whilst at school, she made friends, thrived at her studies, and hoped to study law once her A-levels were complete. Unfortunately, Iftikhar and Farzana did not approve of their daughter's ambition or her day-to-day decisions. Shafilea's choice of clothing was a frequent source of conflict. She wanted to wear clothes like every other teenage girl: t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, skirts, cardigans. Iftikhar and Farzana, on the other hand, hated their daughter's fashion choices. And on one occasion, Farzana called Shafilea a s*** before ripping off her false nails and washing out her hair dye by force. However, this was tame compared to some of the other punishments. Shafilea's parents were brutal disciplinarians who would beat their daughters whenever they stepped out of line. Gujrat Ahmed, Shafilea's brother, was the only child who was not beaten by their parents. Shafilea's cuts and bruises did not go unnoticed at school. Whenever questions were raised about their daughter's home life, Iftikhar and Farzana would claim the accusations were a result of racial prejudice and Islamophobia. This was an effective tactic, and even when the police spoke to Shafilea at school, she lied and told them everything was fine. She was terrified of what her parents would do if she spoke about her mistreatment. Iftikhar and Farzana simply loathed their daughter. Therefore, in the spring of 2003, they devised the ultimate punishment: an arranged marriage for their daughter, Shafilea. They wanted Shafilea to marry one of her cousins in Pakistan. Shafilea was forced to travel to her parents' native country and meet her suitor, who was 10 years older than she was. Shafilea, of course, refused to accept the marriage proposal. Enraged by their daughter's attitude, Iftikhar and Farzana accepted the proposal on Shafilea's behalf before stealing her passport. They were determined to stop her from bringing more shame upon the family. Shafilea became desperate and was overwhelmed with fear. She did not want to marry her cousin. She wanted to stay in Britain and live an independent life away from her family's influence. Unable to cope with the prospect of staying in Pakistan, Shafilea tried to kill herself by drinking bleach. Though she survived, the bleach damaged her throat so badly, which made it difficult for her to swallow. Shafilea was then taken back to Britain and treated at her local hospital in Warrington. While she was there, her father told the nurses that she had drunk the bleach accidentally during a power cut because she thought it was mouthwash, claim prosecutors called a stupid and obvious lie. After Shafilea left the hospital, the beatings and the arguments continued to escalate at home. The mutual hatred between Shafilea and her parents had never been so intense. And eventually, Iftikhar and Farzana's fury turned them into murderers. On 11 September 2003, Farzana went to pick up Shafilea from her part-time job at a call center. When Farzana saw what her daughter was wearing, which was a t-shirt, a hooded cardigan, and a pair of tight-fitting jeans, she started criticizing Shafilea immediately. But rather than beating Shafilea as they normally did, Iftikhar and Farzana decided to end their daughter's rebellious ways once and for all. Whilst Shafilea was sitting on the sofa, Iftikhar and Farzana held her down, preventing her from making an escape. During the struggle, a plastic bag was forced over Shafilea's face and down her throat. She kicked her legs violently, her eyes wide with terror, but her efforts were not enough to stop her mother and father. Shafilea's younger siblings witnessed the entire scene, and when the deed was done, they saw their father putting Shafilea's body in his car before driving off into the night. Her teachers from Great Sankey High School noticed Shafilea's prolonged absence for a week at school and decided to inform the police. Iftikhar and Farzana claimed their eldest daughter had run away from home. They also told their other children to repeat this lie if they were asked any questions. In February 2004, Shafilea's dismembered remains were found after heavy flooding in the River Kent near Sedgwick, Cumbria, about 110 kilometers away from Warrington. Police said the corpse was deliberately hidden, and a gold zigzag bracelet and blue topaz ring found with the body were identified by her parents. Due to the advanced decomposition of her remains, the cause of death could not be determined by coroner Alison Armour. Shafilea's dentist said he was 90% sure that the lower jaw found was hers after examining the dental work carried out on it. Shafilea's parents were released without charge after briefly having been arrested along with 5 other members of her extended family. The initial lack of evidence kept Iftikhar and Farzana out of prison for years. They continued to say they were innocent, whilst the police put thousands of hours into the investigation. In January 2008, the coroner's inquest held that Shafilea was the victim of a very vile murder. Having been taken from her home on Liverpool Road in Warrington, the verdict was unlawful killing. Her family left the inquest without making any comment. 7 years after the murder, on 25 August 2010, Shafilea's younger sister Alessia arranged a robbery that took place at her parents' house, during which she, her brother, sisters, and parents were in the house. She was arrested immediately and told the police about the night her sister had died. She also told the police that her parents had killed Shafilea after trying to force her to accept the arranged marriage. Her parents were afraid her refusal would bring shame on the family, so her father put a plastic bag in Shafilea's mouth and suffocated her to death. On 7 September 2011, Cheshire police announced that Shafilea's parents had been charged with her murder. Their trial began in May 2012, and they were both found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 25 years on 3 August 2012. Remarkably, Alessia's other siblings sided with their parents during the trial and refused to tell the truth. Mr. Justice Roderick Evans said, an expectation that she live in a sealed cultural environment separate from the culture of the country in which she lived was unrealistic, destructive and cruel. Cheshire police purposefully did not refer to events as an honor killing, clarifying they do not legally recognize the term and that what had happened was simply murder. After the trial, police were said to be looking into the possibility that Ahmed's parents had help when they dumped her body in 2003 and that they were looking into new information revealed during the trial. In August 2012, the chief executive of Bradford Council for Mosques encouraged anybody knowing about the case to come forward and said his group would help police.